I'm gonna try using OBS just to see if
I
the
love OBS.
if the AV is out of sync. I'm pretty sure I've had this.
Oh,
I've just sort of like imagined that it would go away magically, and I don't think it will.
no, yeah, the video, it seemed like the video on Zoom and the audio synced up when I just watched it, but the video on Zoom is blurry, even though it says it's 1080p, it's compressed. So it isn't as sharp. The OBS one is nice. It's just locally recorded. So I mashed the two together, but there was a bit of drift,
Smash them
but it seems
together.
to come and go. Another thing too with Zoom, I don't know if you're able to set the frame rate, but it's like recording at 25 FPS, which is like a European standard.
That's fucking euros.
So I'm not sure if you can say 24 or
It's a button. Maybe
or 30.
near as I can tell, it's just a button. Record when you set it up.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Well, all the things are out of sync. See, look, I'm
Well,
totally out of sync now. I'm looking at myself and I'm talking weird.
oh yeah.
Do I look out of sync to you? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally out of sync.
How did you do that?
I didn't want to do it. It happened. If I could undo it, I would undo it.
You're,
Um,
you're out of sync.
yeah, I'm totally out of sync. Let me play with something here.
How
I'm
is
not
this even possible?
I'm not sure where the sound is actually coming from.
I have a friend who
Okay, you know,
does this OBS stuff professionally. I've spoken at conferences where he was like the wizard behind the curtain doing all this stuff. And he lives down the street. So I think I'm going to meet up with him and ask him to help me figure out what to do to prevent funny voice mismatch.
funny voice mismatch. I'm totally funny voice mismatch, right?
I barely, like, I would say you're like under the 50 millisecond threshold.
I don't know if looking at myself, I'm kind of like, wait, who's talking? Oh wait, no wait, am I talking? Yeah, I'm talking.
Yeah,
It's
you're talking.
really unsettling. You'd think this stuff would have been sorted out. It's like
It's too easy. It's too
you
easy
do
to
all
sort
these
through.
magical things, but you can't get video and audio to sync consistently.
I mean, I feel like even Dre is out of sync a bit. I mean, it seems like a thing where everyone's a bit out of sync, isn't it? Or is it just me imagining it?
Enunciate your lip movements so that we can try to see.
Isn't everyone out of sync a little bit right now? And I
Maybe.
feel like an idiot doing that.
Let me
No,
see if it's more out of sync if I go to human. So now yeah, I'm a little bit, am I a little bit out of sync?
no, I think you're good.
Now I'm good. Now I'm good.
Yeah.
But if I go to this nozzle, now I'm out of sync.
Yeah. What's the nozzle that you just jumped
Switching
into?
back and between just my camera and my camera going through OBS.
So going through OBS is causing latency. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this is OBS.
Mm.
Because you can see because of this thing.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. That's the sign. I don't know. Maybe there's a thing you can do to tell OBS to use your graphics card, or
OBS use graphic. No, it doesn't work that way.
yeah,
Not yet.
he just ordered you something from Amazon.
Yeah, well, talk to your guy. Maybe your guy's
Yeah,
like,
I'll talk to my guy.
you got to do this one thing. I don't know why you're not doing that. And maybe if I do this, can you hear me? I'm still out of sync.
It doesn't appear out of sync. Like if I try hard to notice it, I kind of do, but it doesn't feel off.
Okay, I wonder how subjective this is. Thomas, am I out of sync to you? Like if I'm just like talking to you right now, you kind of like, wait a minute, he must be on lunar base alpha, and so there's just a natural delay in the comms link.
I think you're good at this point.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not distracting.
Okay, as long as it's not distracting. It's only distracting to me. because I guess
I think we're all just a little bit out of sync.
yeah, I feel that. Check. I had a great chat with Thomas and Nicola and Florian yesterday during our Green Pages standing call.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one's cooking along. I did have a little bit of a quandary. It started with a quandary because I actually had a coffee call with Nicola before that, and I was like, Nicola, hey, I think they're starting down the hall with Green Pages meeting. Do you want to walk down the hall and go to that meeting? And so we went down to Thomas's meeting, and the quandary came to like a nice conclusion, but it started with like this moment yesterday morning when I was walking Chewy the dog, and I was just kind of running through my head. Didn't have my phone with me, just had a bunch of index cards, thinking about projects and stuff, and also thinking about so we got these three. I shared with you guys last week the three new books. Should I go grab them? I don't think Samuel wasn't here.
Yeah.
All right, they're three books. Some of them aren't new. Well, they're all new. This is the new paperback manual of design fiction with the editioned cover art. It's a secret.
Is that the one that you sent the email around for today? So the new one is the paperback edition?
The new one is the paperback with
Right.
a different. It'll be surprise if you get one. It'll be a surprise because they're a couple different dust jackets commissioned from the wonderful artist Julian Montague. If you guys follow him on Instagram, I recommend you follow him on Instagram. He's great.
And how many different covers are there?
A number.
A number. So like if I got 3 books, would I be guaranteed one of each?
Sadly, I don't think there'll be any guarantees. I don't know how to, figure that part out, to be honest. Maybe a little bit of a gaffe in the whole edition thing. It's just gonna be a surprise. I mean, I guess I could try to figure out something out, but I guess it depends on. No, I'm not gonna do that because the deal is that I don't want people. I mean, I just from where I'm sitting, I don't want people to choose which one they get because what will happen is we'll end up with a shit ton of one be selling and then the other one not, and I don't want to deal with that situation. So it'll just be a surprise. It'll be a pleasant surprise. Dre, I'll switch out. Don't worry about it. I got you.
Yeah, you could have a trade out channel or something.
Yeah, but I don't want any part of that.
Or not a trade out. Maybe a swap. People can swap.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that. That'll have to be third party deal.
Peer-to-peer swap.
Peer-to-peer swap. So Zat super excited about that, and that's making its way around the global logistics system. And
how many units did you get this round?
Sorry,
how many units did you get this round?
4,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
what was the last edition?
2,000.
That was sold out in like 24 hours or something.
Pretty quick. It was a couple weeks. So we'll see. Maybe that was it. There are only 2,000 people who want it. I don't know. Could be the case. I don't think so though, because there are lots of people asking. Some people, hey, can you reserve me a copy? So there's that, and then let's see, is there any particular order I should give these in? Then super excited about this one. This is the 10th anniversary edition of TBD catalog. Let me get this. Oh, wrong one. That one. 10th anniversary of TBD catalog, which I'm super excited about. Look, it's got that kind of catalog-y, crappy gloss vibe going on. Full of stuff from the future. Nice gatefold. There's the global headquarters. This guy is still around. I can't believe I still use that image. And then yeah, it's just full stuff. Some stuff. There's an ad that Dre did. I mean, it was open source, so I did some tweaks to it. There's Ari. There's single use 2-hour lawyer AI. This was shit that we did ages ago. Just to let you know. I mean, not that it was like I'm like, oh, I predicted the future, but it's like you could feel into this stuff. I think that was a project I did with Google maybe around 2000. When was the pandemic? Started in 2020.
2020, yeah.
2020. So that was a project I did with Google probably like 2018. I don't think they got it. Maybe they did. Dre's party ball ad. It's in there. Bunch of oh yeah, here he is again. He just kind of keeps cropping up. He's like the generative AI dude. Real estate broker to the Underverse, crypto voxels, Decentraland sandbox. Find you any good real estate. So that one I'm super excited about. And it feels so good. Our printer did such a great job.
I love the metaverse or underverse reference because it's got a weird future nostalgia to it. It's like the metaverse is like this weird futuristic thing that already feels ancient.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. There's also there's choked elk ads that came from that was a couple years ago, right? We were doing
Came from the radio spot.
Yeah, there was the radio spot.
Hmm.
Yeah, here it is. That's
I heard that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hand choked elk.
I heard like a reference to the metaverse, I think yesterday, as autonomous worlds instead, which kind of felt like a nice other idea.
What was the name? What did you call it?
They referred to the metaverse as also autonomous worlds, an autonomous world, meaning it was sort of a lot of those metaverses in a sense are empty as of now. But I don't know, he's talking about building AI agents in these autonomous worlds that just sort of do their own thing as a reference to.
Yeah. Is that like Sims? Implication of autonomous world?
Well, Sims is like it turns off, like the world disappears when you turn it off, whereas I think the metaverse keeps persisting, right?
Right. It's kind of always there, I guess, even if no one's there.
So it'd be like Sims if you left your computer running and walked away and did your groceries.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, at least when I played it, had that, whether or not, things would happen while you were gone. I don't know if they literally happen or the algorithm's like you've been off for like a week, so some of your trees have died.
Can you imagine if like the singularity occurred because some kid forgot to turn off their Animal Crossing game for like 3 decades?
That's a story. That's a design fiction daily, the news story about like 8-year-old Belgian boy destroys the world. Yeah. Okay, so those two, and then the other thing I want to say. So each one of these, except that one does, actually started this tradition, which I really like, of like dedicating the book to someone. So this one's dedicated to Jean Pablo, who some of you guys might know from, who sadly passed away. When was that? A year ago?
It was last year.
Last year, he was super active in the Discord, so super sad. And then this one. Sorry,
he's the one that helped make that radio spot with us.
That's right. Right.
He wrote and did the VO and did all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think Andrew Dana Hudson ended up doing the reading
because he did the read.
Yeah, he had his what's that actor who sits next to the dude and orders a sarsaparilla at the bar at the bowling alley and help me out here, Thomas. What was the name of the film? The dude. What's
No. Oh, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, but there was the guy who always plays the cowboy dude.
Oh,
Sam.
Sam.
Sam, not Sam Neill. Sam.
No, not.
Is it not Sam? that wrong?
No, no, it's not Sam Rockwell. It's not Sam Neill. It's Sam. I should know this because it's like one of the most requested voiceovers that I get asked whenever I do.
Yeah, because it's a particular thing.
Yeah.
Particular
Anyway, Sam the cowboy guy.
sound the
Yeah,
kind.
with the stash.
This one was dedicated to
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. That's
Bingo.
Sam Elliott. It's funny. There was speaking of riding bikes on the PCH was a complete shit show, the big ride, and you go through Malibu on the way back, and you know it's so fucking dangerous. But so you're always looking out for traffic and stuff like that. And someone pulled out of, I want to say, maybe for the purpose of the story, I will say, it was Barbara Streisand's, you know, her estate on the water there, and your gate open and a big like Cadillac SUV or whatever kind of nosed out carefully, nothing abrupt, and I caught and the driver saw that we were coming and you know went into reverse and just backed up like whatever, you know, 5 or 8 feet, and I looked in the window, and it was Sam Elliott. It was the guy, definitely, no question about it. And I was like, oh nice, he drives his own car, that's cool, and he's polite. He pulls out of the way. So anyway, this one is dedicated to Sasha Poflip, who's an amazing media artist. I think Jed knows him. Jed, do you know Sasha? I know him. All right, we'll let Jed be on mute.
I definitely met him with you, I think, years ago.
Yeah, he was here in
Yeah.
LA, and he was getting his PhD down in San Diego. And then the other book, so this is the one for the Androids project, which is impossible to read on screen. Right? Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Super excited about this one, mostly because of the print quality. Our guy just like nailed it. I was like, it's got to feel like a mass market paperback that you would pick up at the airport, but also premium. And you kind of got it, like everything about it. The paper, it's the right kind of paper for I'd feel. More of this stuff going on. Our global headquarters. All the fun stuff that you see in these kinds of books. I don't know if you guys are probably too young to remember, but sometimes the back, you can still see them do the back of books and be like, if you like this title, then maybe you like the other titles from our catalog. And then so there are a whole bunch of those listed, and a little like ridiculous. I mean, I'm not sure where the QR code goes. I can't remember, but like you're meant to tear out the page and send along, you know, 50 cents in a self-addressed stamp envelope to get the catalog. And then the special interior section with the color plates of some of Jed's electric sheep. And I kept there was so much. I feel like the book took maybe a total of a week to get together, you know, to kind of get it formatted and get it in design, all that kind of stuff. And then it was probably like a couple weeks of back and forth with the printer, just working out little gotchas. And one of them was like, there kept being this email back and forth, be like, hey, just to let you know, page 72 is blank. And part of, and I would get frustrated because it'd be like, yes, it's blank. What do you want me to say? But also part of me was just, you know, because I was just like, do you intend it to be blank? And I was like, yeah. And this kept kind of going back and forth. And there are all these challenges with getting the multiples of pages right, because we have this special section in the center where the paper changes, right? So it's a different paper in the center, because I wanted, you know, be able to color print on a, you know, like a slightly denser kind of coated stock. It's gorgeous. But so the number of those pages I was just like a whole like whack-a-mole page ordering thing. So I was like, wait a minute, there's a rule for like blank pages. So I put in this page intentionally left blank on every blank page. And then they wrote back to me, it's like, you know, each one of those blank pages has this text, this page and potentially left blank. Is that a note for us, or did you want us to print it? Which is, I mean, I wasn't frustrated. I was like, man, you guys are really diligent. And I appreciate that, because otherwise, you know, I could make a mistake. They're like checking me, and then I'd make a mistake and I get 4,000 of these things with a mistake. That would suck. And so far I've not found a single mistake. And this one, there's no image, but it's dedicated to another amazing artist named Beatrice DaCosta. Jed, you must remember Beatrice.
Yeah,
The pigeons. She made these
yeah. Logging pigeons.
yeah, these pigeons with these backpacks that she manufactured that made them into pigeons that blog. So that this is all like hygiene stuff. This was like early days, people figuring stuff out, but they were backpacks with I don't know, I guess they probably had like GSM modems on them or something like that, and they would communicate with the cellular network and send around their location so you could see the pigeon swarms, um, the data from that, and then also had environmental sensor monitoring. I mean,
Yeah,
way ahead of her time, way ahead. This is, I don't know, 2007 maybe, something like that, long time ago. So I like that tradition of dedicating. Remind people, because you know generations change. People are like, you know, there's some student somewhere, yeah, Ernest, and thinks they figured it out. They're like, I'm gonna make these pigeons that blog. I'm gonna put this little Arduino on it, and with no sense of that there's a tradition and linear. You know, not to say that their idea isn't interesting and cool, but it's like, yeah, we've been there. We've been there. You know, insert yourself into the cycle of the evolution of you know, human consciousness. You're not
yeah, that was like
part of
three.
something bigger than you, basically.
There's a story about like when Bell Labs invented the satellite, right? And I think they did it around like 19, what must have been 1950. And as they were working on it, they stumbled across like a paper from 10 years before that proposed everything that they were working on. It just wasn't the right time. There weren't the components weren't there, so it just, you know, this paper, everyone thought it was interesting, or it was moderately well received at the time, but then just kind of faded into the abyss. And then literally no one, the people working on it just had no context for that. It wasn't inspired. They just reinvented it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one that of that same era. Do you remember? I think his name was it Garrett, the one that did
Garnet.
the cockroach,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like the robot controlled cockroach.
yeah, yeah. He
Right?
took that to Ars Electronica. It was a big deal.
Yeah,
It was
cockroach controlled
amazing.
robot.
I mean, kind of gross, but also and unsettling. But
Yeah, that was a
you know,
fun
it's
one.
that classic thing of the tiny thing and the giant apparatus.
Yeah, little brain.
Science fiction trope. Yeah, Pinky in the Brain. Didn't he
Yeah.
drive something big? Or Baby Yoda in the in the last season. And then this is I guess this is the fourth book. So this is my follow-on book to the Manual of Design Fiction, which I refer to as a reader's guide, which I'm super excited about this one. It's got all this super kind of getting my visual more graphic books, fewer words, more graphics. Tell a story with images. I was just totally having fun. Love it, love it, love it. And this one, let's see, this one is dedicated. This one's dedicated to my friend Mike Krasinski, who is an amazing guy, amazing designer. So why do I mention that? Well, so I was wondering when I was walking, I was like, I'm wondering if the experiment that I'm trying to do in the with the community and all that is that, you know, we make stuff, and so we're able to, you know, kind of tap into our desire to be kind of creative individuals and do projects that we would like to do anyway. Um, and I thought my feeling is that it's totally possible to do that and to transact in these things, and then we all kind of, you know, we can all be involved and participate and kind of collaborate in these things. And my fear when I was walking is like there's something not quite right with the experiment. Something isn't quite working. And in my mind it kind of went to think of, I'm going to sound like an asshole. It's like, why am I able to get 4 books done and we're still not able to do it, like just me, and we're still not able to get a project out from the community? And I was wondering, I was like, am I not doing something right? And I didn't have an answer. And part of me was like, well, I'm not I'm not frustrated. I'm more like wondering, like, why I'm not an asshole, really. Why can I get an entire book done and to a printer to start the production process in like a week and a half, and ABC Solar Punk is still stuck? And I wonder if there's like a gap between the fun, interesting stuff, all the other incentives to get other kinds of projects done, and just that there's that last gap that either because my enthusiasm and my own incentives are much higher, because I know that I know it's like, well, if I want to, you know, if I want a steady stream of income, then I'll just if I get this book done, I know I'll be able to sell it. I know that's not even a question. So the sooner you get it done, the sooner you'll be able to sell it, and the sooner you'll be able to, you know, put steaks in the freezer.
I think there's a couple of things at play, at least from my perspective on the ABC's book.
I'm not calling you out, Dre, just to be clear.
No,
I'm
I'm
saying over and over again, it's like I'm not frustrated with those guys. I'm just wondering.
no, totally. And I wonder the same thing. I think there's a few things. One, like I know I am a classic. I love the beginnings of a project, and I'm not great at the ends of the project. Like that's why, you know, my entire career was being a creative director, and I had an entire team of people do the shit. I would think of the shit, and they would do the shit. And that's part of my style. But the other thing too is there's a bit of the hesitancy of the unknown, and I know that you know you've broken the wall of like different ways of publishing books, and you can do it quick and dirty, or you can take your time, but you've figured out the tooling. And I think with ABCs, I'm currently figuring out the tooling, and I'm a little bit apprehensive about a couple of things. That, and it's a bit of a back burner project for me right now, because I've got some other Mazuma projects I need to keep on the front burner. But I think once ABCs gets done and I kind of get it figured out and I get that relationship with Ken, the printer, I have a funny feeling I won't want to bang another book out in short order. So I think it's the that initial getting out of the gates phase is how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get it.
It's I think, I mean, it's a universal question. Like, you know, even when we were at you know, at Google, even like products that ship and then products that don't. And sometimes it's not a matter of like quality. It's a matter of like just getting it out there, the will to get it out there, I guess. I don't know. There's some magic there.
I think, and I'm curious about what that gap is, because I think so. And is it something that is? I think I have a particular quality. I'm not crowing about it. Where it's just like this shit's gonna get done, because I don't want to be in a world in which I look back on it and been like, oh, I should have, you know, whatever. You know, I don't want to be sitting at the end of the bar. It's like, yeah, I could have done that one thing, but I did. You know, I don't. So it's just refuse that possible future. And so the idea of like, you know, even just grinding on any one of these books, or even it could have been an easy decision to be like, no, I'm not going to do a 10th anniversary TBD catalog. That sounds like work.
Mm-hmm.
It's already out there. You know what? Done. You did 2 printings, but something just drove me. It's like, man, I just felt it would be beautiful to do it. And also I thought in practical terms, like, well, if I can, and I'll be able to sell them, so that's cool. um yeah, go on, Thomas. You're on the edge of something.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it yesterday, but I do think like there's a I think you have an understanding of like I think all of us have like this desire to make stuff, but then like and you have like your creative vision of what could happen like when this thing is over, or when it's finished and it ships. But then there is like, I mean, Drake kind of touched on it, like what are the practical terms of it after it's done? And like what are the unfun parts that are the unknown? Or what is like the payoff and the fun part of it all being done? And like I think uh the reward of finishing projects in many contexts is kind of abstract and unknown. And so I think the more you do it, the easier it gets.
I
The
think
more like the more comfortable the abstract and unknown becomes, the more you're like, okay, well, it's just something that I have to deal with, and
or
it always ends up being worth it.
yeah, so deal with, or just, I think the more you do it, the more you kind of, and I think you develop and build that skill and that sensitivity and that recognition. Is like, oh, this is just like that other thing that worked out totally fantastically. Even though it hurts right now and it sucks, it seems to suck. Actually, then the suck doesn't feel like something sucking. It's just like, this is that part of the project. Like, get over yourself, stop complaining, stop worrying about it, stop not doing it, stop procrastinating, just get her done, and it'll be beautiful on the other side. And if you do that enough times, you recognize that, and it becomes like, it becomes hygiene. It becomes like, it's the making your bed syndrome.
Yeah,
And don't
I
get
think that this
don't
is
get
an
into a mode.
especially abstract context, though, because it's not school, it's not a job
Yeah.
necessarily.
It's
It's like this
this on the
weird in
future. It's a
between
weird
space.
future thing.
Yeah, it's this weird in between space that I think we all cherish, but it's like, how does this exactly work when the shit hits the fan? And it's good shit because
It's part.
it's
That's
stuff that we got to make and it's been fun to make and we get to do this. But it is like, I mean, for me, it's like, okay, well, we're in the
that's
process of
the
filling out these
experiment.
pages.
That's
When
the
we actually have
experiment.
to do some stuff, let's see.
That,
And
that
we will, and it'll be fun. It'll be great.
that's totally the experiment. This is like, we're in a lab, we're experimenting with a new mode of work. We don't have the right language for it, and I get that. And it's like, you just sort of need those brave people to be like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go into that place. I'm gonna mix the ammonium and the nitrate and see what happens, and hopefully I live on the other side of it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's part of what it is. It's just like, okay, this is risky as fuck, but it's like, if I want to, be not, it's not even be a part of it. It's like, this could be something really big. It's like the difference between, put it in different kinds. The difference between people who are like, have a who want to be part of a very risky proposition, whether it's a startup or a bank heist, and then the people are like, no, 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 I like this old way. Feel much more comfortable with that. And you need, basically, I need more people who are kind of like, fuck it, let's do this. Let's go up that hill and charge that big crazy cloud of alien, consciousness. We got this if we do it together. If we go arm in arm into this, and if we, kind of pursue this idea and do the experiment and learn from it, then you will be the one who would have done that. And you can point to it and say, like, I did this thing, and people will marvel at it. They'll be like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I guess, the question is, I'm not saying it's not a threat or anything. It's like, which side of that do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side who's like, I could have been a part of that, I was right there during those meetings and those conversations, but I didn't? Or do you want to be, sort of stand with a sense of like pride and accomplishment, like, I did that, I know what that's about? And Thomas, to the point that you brought up yesterday, it's like, having not a concept piece, or whatever, not to say anyone's like school thesis isn't remarkable, But oftentimes it's the kind of thing that, you know, people are kind of like, okay, cool, typical thesis project, got it. Or have something where it's like, for you, Thomas, like I made this magazine from the future. This is the practice that I do. This is the thing. And it'll be like unlike anything anyone has ever seen before.
Mhm.
They'll be like, this reflection of your creativity and your determination and your grit and your ability to actually manufacture and produce something. I mean, either people will be either like, they either be like, fucking hell, man, it's like you're level 2 already, or they'll be like, you scare me. You're gonna take my job. You're way better at this than I was, and will ever be, because you can do everything from soup to nuts. That is a possibility. I mean, people get scared of high performing creative folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing green pages now. I don't want to.
Or, you know, like you mentioned, it's like, what would it be like to be an independent creative, which is something that, you know, I mean, I'm the kind of person that now I realize, like, I could only be the only, you know, there would be incredibly wacky terms if someone said like, hey, we want you to come in house. I was like, okay, this is what the house looks like to me. And by the way, I might not be around all that much. But you will get some value from my participation in things for sure. But
I also think finishing sort of forces one to demystify the processes of the rest of the output, what it takes to really get something finished. Because if somebody's responsible for a narrow band of work, then it's easy for them to both minimize and mystify like what it is that happens elsewhere, sort of beyond their little piece or before their little piece. Um, and so it can be really interesting and actually exciting to discover the nuts and bolts of what those pieces before and after and around actually do entail, because a lot of the time it's not even that it's more complicated, but that the complexities are different, and often it's just more interesting than you would have thought if you were still just doing your one little piece. And that's been my experience of taking on more. It's just like, oh, logistics is pretty interesting.
Mhm.
Finding the way to not immediately reject those things that you don't know anything about and look at them as like, oh, I mean, would I be a worse human if I'd learned about logistics? And do I think it's a waste of my time? If I think it's a waste of my time, what does that say about my commitment to the work? Yeah, like, I don't know, like old school. If we were homesteaders, would you be like, I just don't feel like chopping wood today. I'd rather have a cold meal and be cold at night. No, you do the work because I don't know. It's a different kind of character for sure. And I don't think we're necessarily lazier nowadays, but we're used to disposing some aspects of work and outsourcing it. And for me, it's just like, no, we gotta own every single piece of this to the degree that we can, um, and reduce the dependence on others. Not because I don't enjoy working with others, that kind of thing, but the like my granddaddy said, it's like whatever you do, make sure you own it. Okay.
Shipping things, or getting things out the door to scale makes you such a better designer of the phases leading up to that as well, because then you realize how all the decisions you make leading up to the launch make your life easier or harder after the launch.
Yeah. And
Apropos of nothing, I'm very excited for Monday.
Sorry, what was that, Randall?
Apropos of nothing, I'm very excited for the Worldwide Developers Conference on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. Are you saying that because you know something?
Well, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Julian. These projects that you're talking about, um, these are, sorry, I have no idea about the structure and as to how these projects run. Are these sort of volunteered? Are they sort of community? Is it a company that makes them? I see them in the NFL Discord, but I do not quite understand what they are and how they are sort of instigated and driven.
Yeah, Thomas, do you wanna?
I mean, that's another thing we talked about yesterday, was kind of like how to make things more understandable of like what's going on, so it doesn't just seem like there are these like mysterious corner rooms where like we're doing green pages, come on in, but like you don't really know what's going on. So I think what you're voicing is definitely something that we are trying to uh, figure out in terms of like how to communicate more clearly about like what's going on. In terms of how the projects begin, I think I mean, I was in a coffee chat with Julian and he kind of just said like, I've got this thing, would you like to do it? Or the other side of it is like, I think you just kind of go to Julian and say, I've got this thing, what do you think about doing it under the umbrella of the Near Future Lab? And kind of using the community. But in terms of, I think the bigger part of your question is, or that I'm taking away, is that like, yeah, it is like maybe a little abstract as to like what's going on when we're having these like work meetings, and this idea that people will just pop in because you know, I say that you can, is kind of like a ridiculous, or not a ridiculous ask, but it could be more thoughtfully done. So that's definitely something that we're trying to do next week with Green Pages. So how to have like a much more pointed purpose for like what we're doing. So like next week for Green Pages, we're working as we speak on creating like a kind of, so Green Pages is a magazine about filmmaking in the future. And one section of the magazine we are thinking about is making a bunch of like classified ads for jobs or services that could be offered in film world in the future. So just these like really quick hit, you know, text only advertisements that are small, maybe like 25 to 50 words, super doable, just like a clever name and a short description. And so right now I'm working on creating a classified ad to send out to everyone in the Discord, saying like there will be a workshop on Tuesday where we will be thinking about this thing, which is classified ads in the future of filmmaking. You know, come to this workshop from 10 a.m. to 11:30, and you know, let's all work on this together. But I think to answer your question, I think that is one that is a feeling that we're starting to really understand, is that like, at least for me in Green Pages, like I've been holding this weekly meeting and it hasn't been getting as much traction as I think I've been wanting. But I think a big part of that is because of the way I'm kind of not explaining the project or not saying like why we're meeting. So I'm trying to like put constraints around what we're meeting about and what we would actually be doing, and then also making it so those meetings are producing content for the magazine so that people can kind of become a part of it in multiple ways.
So the basic framework is that there are projects that we do, and a lot of this came out of like the early days conversations around when people were saying like, oh, we should be a DAO. And it was like, okay, we've got a community and we've got a purpose, but what are we DAOing or whatever? And I was the purpose was like, we make products from the future, which I love this because it's such a funny, wacky idea. Like, how do you do that? How do you make a product from the future? But that's kind of like the design fiction thing, like, you know, the idea of like going to a particular world in our imagination, you know, through whatever technique. And rather than trying to tell the story about the world from the top down, we just find these artifacts, right? So you got that
Mm.
that whole bit. And so
Mm.
like let's make those things for these different worlds. Like that's what we do. Like let's make those
Mm.
things, and then let's play into the, but let's actually manufacture them. Like I really don't just want to do, you know, as much as I
College projects. Like my project. It's just a small exhibition and it's done, it's finished. No one sees it ever again.
I guess maybe that the first the first thing I was thinking about more so than that is like, but you materialize something. So like, let's make a material thing that people experience in a way that is very different from just seeing, you know, like seeing a render of a world, or something of that sort. Not to, you know, it was just more of a, not that, it's not a value judgment so much as like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually get the object from the future and it lived with you in some fashion, you know, whether it's a magazine, and it would just be this thing that you would, you know, presumably you would treasure, and you would, and it would be the thing that, like, you know, you have a dinner party and people are like, what the heck's that? Oh, check this out. I mean, I just love that idea. A diner mug from some future vendor, or you know, service company or something like that. And so that's the
Mm.
overall idea. Like, wouldn't, and then do them in drops, because I don't want to, you know, we don't
Mm.
want to have tons of stuff lying around. So it's just like, okay, this is a new drop is coming. It's this, you know, it's a catalog of products from the future, or it's a magazine from it's variety magazine from the future. And and so I love that idea, and we figured out the tooling for a lot of these things. So let's do them. And if an idea comes to mind, you know, someone proposes it, or it just kind of effervesces out of conversations that we have in office hours, whatever, which is kind of what happened with the Android project, then let's say, like, okay, that's a project. Like, let's say it's a project, check. Let's make a channel for the conversations to happen, check. Let's let people know that this project is going on and they can participate in it. And then the other part of the experiment is, let's incentivize folks to actually do this, because I mean that's the challenging part. And so the incentive structure, definitely an experiment, not sure it's going to work. It could be, hey, why did you mix the ammonium and nitrate? Didn't you know that was going to blow up? Is, let's designate, you know, one or more people who seem to be on the sharp end of the project, who are the most enthusiastic, or they're saying like, yeah, I would totally do that, and say, you're now the showrunner. Okay, and the showrunner has responsibility for getting the, you know, getting the project done, or not. And if they don't, then they got to carry that. You know, because people are going to be like, whatever happened to that? And they'll probably, you know, some people just don't deal with it well, and they'll just never come back to the bar after that one time when, you know, they danced awkwardly and fell on their face. So, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So the showrunner is, you know, sort of like in collab. So if you imagine the Hollywood model, I think it's like there's a showrunner, and then there's the benevolent studio executive who's kind of like, maybe more like this, or this work, or yeah, I'm gonna come to your meetings, and I'm gonna help out. Like, I'll totally, like, what do you need? You need someone to climb a ladder and adjust a light? I'll do that. Wait, the the CEO is helping out. He's operating the camera. He's going to get lunch. So it's like, it feels like a really good, you know, kind of collaborative endeavor. And then we manufacture the thing, and then we sell it. So it goes on the Near Future Laboratory website. We have a community, we have an audience. There are people who like, yeah, I'll have this stuff. This is great. I love it. So I think that's kind of built in, but everyone's got to help with the selling. You know, it can't be, hey, I made the bed halfway. Now daddy's going to go finish the work. It's like, you gotta, otherwise it's just a failure. You got to help out. Everyone's got to help out. And that, you know, that's been a failure mode for me, because I just, in this context, and my other company and stuff like that, there are people who just got there and they're like, okay, I'm done. It's like, no, it's not done. It was one of the reasons why Nick Foster left. It's just like, I kept telling him, it's like, you got to help. You can't just draw the picture and then walk away. And
Mm.
and I don't want that to happen. It can't happen. That will be a failure. And so getting people in the mode of like, okay, I'm gonna really do this. I'm gonna be a part of this, and I'm gonna take it all the way. And they're the things that I don't feel like I do well. It's like, well, fuck you. You better learn how to do it quick. You got to do it. There's no one else around. There's no sales department. There's no expert team on the fourth floor. We're not going to call McKinsey to figure shit out. We are doing it, right? and that's the spirit of like the ferociously aggressively independent creative. It's like I'm going to do all this, right? You find, so it's not like, and until recently I was shipping stuff as well, like literally.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
then it just got to where Mrs. like, I don't know, the living room isn't meant for this stuff. And she was
I
like,
mean, I sort of get where you're coming from, and it makes me think back, like back in October when I thought of okay doing this project of design fiction from the Indian context, and I messaged some of you all, and you all really helped out. But then my vision for the project was it's going to be an exhibition, and I'm going to take photographs of the exhibition. Had I known that I could have proposed to you that hey, can this be an NFL project and we can make a book, and I would have tailored all of the work by the students in such a way that we took images of students wearing those things or somebody reading a newspaper somewhere and publishes a book as India in 2038
Mhm.
and different parts of India. And maybe it was like this little manual of this somebody traveling through the country and what they documented. So I didn't have the vision of maybe it being an object. And I didn't know that I could have, I mean, again, it's down to NFL to say this can be a project, but that would have been sort of an interesting twist. I would have had the push to say this is something that can be real. But I wasn't aware. So maybe what I was trying to point out is, as Thomas said, is that if we propose, then this is like a community project where it can be discussed live instead of me having conversations in DMs all over the place. And moreover, it's this little incentive to say that, there is a bit of a group that might sort of hold like the next project I'm working on. So some context is that although I keep doing all this interesting work, it's very hard for me to convince anyone that this is worth it. So I'm usually unemployed, and I have been now for a while. And so I sit and I think of interesting courses to run in India. And that the next course I got is for July. So I'm just sort of loosely meandering around these days and thinking of, okay, we're going to create objects in July that will be centered on rituals, and we're going to borrow rituals from India and make students enact them. And my vision for it is just that I'll see students do it in class and walk away. But I haven't had a larger idea because someone like me can never put it out there. I mean, at least a long way off because I have no community, I have no reach. But if there is value in it and I can propose it to people and say, you know what, I'll run this as best as I can, and maybe somebody else can run with it afterwards, or it can become something, then I just didn't know, is what I'm trying to say. Does NFL, the Discord server, want to say that anyone can say it? And when Thomas is doing his project, maybe exactly the way he described it, and he said that we're making this book for films, blah blah blah. It could be like a 30-second video clip that's pinned to the channel that says what he's trying to make, because the text description doesn't always tell me.
Totally.
And maybe what he's looking for is that maybe every Tuesday we do meet, or write to me if you want to. So sort of that would allow people, let's say with me, someone who has time, to say, you know what, I don't mind giving about an hour every morning. Or maybe if I don't have time, or when I'm beginning to struggle, I can be like, you know what, I think my association now can stop. But I feel like that clarity is
Yeah,
maybe possible.
totally. Like our whole all that stuff. And you're absolutely your 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 read on things are absolutely right. And it's just it's a what do they say? We're building the airplane while we're flying it. So it is very much, it's an experiment. I'm not saying that as an excuse. Like I still haven't done an onboarding video for the Discord, mostly because I'm kind of like, well, I'll just do the coffee calls, and I kind of like those. Um, Still haven't. There's so many things that again, and it comes down to that same thing. It's like, well, why not? Like, I'm not calling anyone out by any means. Like I'm the worst offender. It's like, Thomas, why haven't you done that? I'm not asking you. I'm just saying, but you're like, yeah, it's a good question. Or, done the and I think, some of the channels I put in a thing like what this channel is about. I don't even know how visible those are. You know what I mean? It's not like it's just because of the nature of Discord, which is not the best for much of anything other than having messages disappear a few minutes after they're posted. So there's a lot of work that we can do in that department, and it would be the kind of might be the kind of thing if we had more structure, it might just be like, hey, if you want to start a project here, you need to make like a 90-second video, send it to Julian. He'll shove it through, I figured it out, Dre, the DaVinci template, So it's all kind of uniform. And we'll put this up in the channel that we create for the project. And you know what? We'll repost it every 7 days. Every 7 days, there's another posting. Hey, were you curious about this? With an appropriate signaling so that people, I mean, I don't know, that could be a good idea now that I figured out DaVinci templates. Um, and but that's the idea. And I think you have a sensitivity to it, and which is to say, I want to find the way in which we can collaborate together, work together to create, on with things that we would want to do anyway, let's say, or our own projects that otherwise we're kind of looking. I don't know how the funding model works at all. Like this is just all. I mean, you just be clear. I'm not like Mr. Moneybags. Like I figured something out that we actually that the the thing that the near future laboratory now, whatever it is, 15, 16, 18 years after I started my blog, is there's actually a community of people. I had one guy reach out to me yesterday, totally not crowing. He was like, "Hey, doing this thing with large tech company X up in Silicon Valley. Would love to have you there." And I was kind of like, "Sorry, who is this?" And he's like, "My name's Augie, um, and I've been following your work for a really long time." And he referred. He's like, just so you know, it's almost kind of like proof of life kind of thing. He's like, "Just so you know, I have DFPDIR 0-7." I was like, "Shit, like I only have one of those left. Like, how did you? So you have been following for a long time." And he was in a beautiful way. He's kind of like, "Man, I just love what you've been doing." And now I'm at this kind of place, and I'm not saying that, uh, you know, to crow. I'm saying that there are people out there who love what we've been able to create and kind of feel into it in a way where they're like, it feels like we're doing something new, and it definitely feels strange, and it feels unusual, and it feels a little bit kind of scary. By that I mean, like, well, this doesn't sound like a safe way to conduct my life. This doesn't sound anything like a regular job with a regular paycheck with health insurance and daycare and on-site dry cleaning. Like, isn't that what I'm supposed to be going after? Maybe maybe, if you're okay with the risk of becoming completely irrelevant in the next cycle. Maybe if you're not the sort who likes to take the path untraveled. Maybe if you feel that there's another way, there's another possibility for doing creative collaborative work that creates value, and that for which we can create a value exchange kind of circulation system that looks a lot different from uh, the usual agency consulting kind of stuff, and looks very different from like, oh, I'm just going to go get a job. I mean, this is like the kind of shit where it's like the vanguard. It happens, it happens, and all it requires is, to a certain degree, like will and determination and enthusiasm. Like there was, like when all the examples, like when Dylan plugged in at a folk festival, there were riots, but he changed something because he just saw it. When the Ramones got on stage at CBGB's and decided, we're just going to crank it up and our song's going to be 32 seconds long. People were like, that's bullshit. It'll never go anywhere. What you can think of all the times in which the world, in which there was a renaissance in a particular creative idiom. And I truly believe that we are doing that. But I mean, my thing is, I can't do it alone. And we need exemplars of it. And we're kind of done with, maybe every once and again, like an essay about it, Medium post, but it's got to be more. There's got to be something that people say, oh, I get what you're talking about now. I'm not only reading it about it theoretically in the Medium post, I'm seeing it. I can actually order it, and then we can then it becomes like, there'll be more work for everyone. And if you're part of that, if you were part of that vanguard, if you were on the stage at CBGB's in 1978, if you were, then you have a stake and a claim and a certain sense of like authority in the practice, as opposed to like a lot of the people who follow along because they're, lots of people are just like sheep, like, oh, I do that now. I got my certificate from some shitbird, weekend seminar. I know what you're talking about. I do that. Be like, well, cool. Your name's not on this project though, the one that people point to.
I mean, I sort of agree with you. Again, I won't go into constraints that someone like me has sitting where we are and the connections that we have. But I feel like there's a lot of people out there, especially when I look at my students who are about to graduate now and they've got 6 months. They have to do a 6-month project that's entirely of their own doing, and they graduate on the basis of that 6-month project. And I sort of put aside some of my savings, say I'll hire you and I'll sponsor you for 6 months to do projects. But some of them don't get sponsors. But I could point them to things and be like, you know what, here's a brief. You can work on it on your own. Maybe 3 of you can get together. And I just did not know that the Discord groups here are some that are open. I don't mean to say all of them become NFL projects, but the fact that there is an opportunity to sort of take projects as part of the community. I sort of felt that NFL is this organization, and they run these projects, and they probably appoint somebody or hire someone who's running it, and then everyone else with time sort of pipes in. It's not clear that somebody can have agency if they want to, if they have the time and the motivation. That's sort of where I felt like maybe if you're looking to invite people in, there's a lot of people out there for sure who can use their time more constructively. I know I could have in the past 6 months because I had a lot of time. I just sort of, maybe because I'm shy or whatever it is, I used to look at what Dre's doing. I'm like, you know what, this book, like, I'm a former graphic designer. I am interested and I would love to do it, but I never opened my mouth because I was just like, yeah, but they're a group and they probably just do their own thing. It'll be so weird to ask.
I totally get it.
So that's where I'm coming from.
I got the encouragement from my dad, not to be nostalgic, but he used to always he would take my brother and I to like things that we probably weren't supposed to go to, like the Village Vanguard at midnight on a Friday or something. Like, no, we're gonna go see McCoy Tyner. I remember this distinctly, going to see McCoy Tyner, and during a set break, my dad was like, go talk to him. I was like, what are you talking about? That's McCoy fucking Tyner. And I'm, like, I'm a 14-year-old. But he's a go, and I can't remember who was playing drums. My brother was a drummer, is a drummer. And I went up to him and I said, what do I say? He said, just tell him, all you have to do is say like, hey, I appreciated the set. I was like, oh yeah, appreciate the set, man. Good stuff. And it changed everything, because you see this monster of jazz. You know all the stories. He's sweating. It's like, hey man, I just wanted to say, Mr. Tyner, I really enjoyed the set. And he just you could tell that touched him. A little, hey man, thanks for that, little man. Tell me, what do you play? You play music? And just all of a sudden you're like, whoa, shit. And so I get that kind of sense of like, oh well, they're special, and we are, but we're also open. We're also like receptive. I mean, I fucking do like, I mean, I do. You're coming on the podcast, for Christ's sake. Like that wasn't because that's because I think you're special.
It took me 3 months to muster up the courage to write you and that I'd love to share this out. I'm just saying that maybe everyone has their own pace, and what I take away from this chat is that maybe I just need to be a bit more out there and be like, you know what, hey Dre, you're doing something cool, I want to jump in. And that we need to get, and that's part of the formula of maybe producing better work, is sort of have the courage to put yourself out there even more, and how much ever you've done so far can be better. And that's a good takeaway from me, and in this chat at least. So yeah, thank you.
Good stuff. I think Dre
does a two-way. It is a two-way street though, in terms of like also contextualizing the projects. Like that video idea, like the primer of the project is I do think that's like important stuff to do.
It could even be like, this is a responsibility of the showrunner. It's like, once a week, just do a 90-second video update. 90 seconds.
Totally, yeah.
Seconds.
Just so people know what they're getting like into, or that, so they like, I don't know. We were talking a lot about
like video week notes. It could be any. You could just do it on your iPhone, right? I don't know. Yeah. It could be kind of fun. Another experiment. Like, let's try
enter through this door. And like walk in and then walk out of that door.
Yeah, that's right. People are like, wait a minute, what? It's kind of Rube Goldberg kind of vibe going on here. Yeah, that could be kind of fun.
I might have to head, but I can just say, Thomas, is that somebody had told me a long time ago is that if you're ever doing a quick presentation, we say something like, where are you coming from, where are you now, and where do you want to go? And these can be like one-liners. And then if you need help, you just say, I need help with this. So when I hire these young designers to sort of run these projects for me, I have a very quick stand-up, and these are just 3 lines. The first one goes with how you're feeling, because I think this emotion is always cut out of workplaces. And then I go like, okay, what do you do last week? How are you feeling right now? What do you plan to do this week? And do you need any help at all? And then it becomes done in 4 lines, and we go through, and if you're 4 of us, we're done in 5 minutes, and we start the day. So if that sort of helps every week, a little vlog sort of a thing can really help the channel stay alive. Maybe. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I'll probably run, but thank you so much, and have a
Sorry,
nice week.
one other thing that I should just add, because I didn't explain it. So part of the one part of the experiment, the value exchange network, is that showrunners get 80% of the net. So when things are sold, and 20% comes back in the future laboratory, that might totally not work. I have no idea. It might just be like, maybe it should be more like 50-50. I have no idea. But I said 80-20 mostly just because I was like, well, what's a world in which the people who did the work get more than the CEO? Is it like 20? Yeah, what was the story about the Sony CEO gets $250 million a year and the writers are on strike? So that's also part of the experiment. Again, just to say for the umpteenth time, like, I don't know if it's going to work. We're mixing ammonium and nitrate in an area with not much ventilation.
But I guess it might contribute. Again, I can give you statistics for the project I ran. It took me about a month probably to plan out on and off. It took a month to run it. I was given a budget of, what was it, about 200 $200, $250 to do the whole thing with 20 students, make all the objects. I put in about $100, another $100 of my own, and we built everything. But had I known that, if we can put something out in the world and we can sell it, then someone like me might have said, you know what, I'm just going to pay for a proper photographer, pay another $100, make sure it's documented really well, because I know if I can make a little book out of it and it sells, even if it sells like a couple of 100 copies, there's some value of it. It's speculative, yes, but knowing that there is a sort of a framework for, if you produce tangible work of a higher quality, then it's worth the risk possibly. It's a real thing out there, and you have a support system that helps you publish and release it and stuff like that. I think it can be an incentive. I don't know if it will be, but it can be. And the budgets, again, you all work in a market where the money is working a very different way. The market I work in, and the niche that I'm finding through these conversations is that it can be contextualized to a context like India or another country where there is an audience that is growing. You all started 20 years ago, we can start today. So there is an incentive for people to enter this space if they knew that it is possible to make a living. Right now, what I struggle with is that I show all my projects in every single job interview, and they're like, yeah, cool. But then 3 levels in, the CEOs or the HR is going to say, no, he's not right for us because he's not made commercial work. So it's very hard for us to see the light of day when we operate in a market where the projects we do are basically paying our rent. And hence, I'm just sort of pointing out that maybe it would help add some.
I mean, I don't know if it will, but that's part of the mission. Because I believe that the more of this work that's out there that is represented as, this kind of work, let's call it design fiction. If people are saying design fiction enough, and there are enough examples of it that which are framed as commercial, I think the commercial folks don't know what they want. They just know what they've heard and what other people, their competitors, or what they think is of value. And if we can represent it and speak on it over and over and over and over again to the value points that resonate with more commercially minded folks, and if there's less work that actually appears in galleries and more work that appears in commercial context and that is explicitly commercial, so that's why I like product catalogs. I like doing, magazines. People get that stuff and it communicates in a different way. So just finding the way people are saying like ROI. Like, let's tell them what the ROI is. Like, and like and do it in terms that we know are authentic. Like, this is, do you want to be more creative or do you want to be less creative? Because creativity is the seed to innovation. And if you don't recognize that, then you're already dead. And this is the seed to innovation, doing creative work. It'll, and then all the other usual stuff, like it'll align your teams, create a shared vision. Oh, Mr. CEO, I think your job, and you're probably overpaid for it, is to have the creative vision for the company. And that creative vision that I saw that you presented, I mean, it looks like you borrowed someone else's PowerPoint deck. You want a real creative vision? Let's do your annual report from the future. And, just like get in their face and say, like, if not, cool, I got another meeting to go to. If you think that what you got, you think you got a high performing creative team that is able to see in the future, to me, it looks like they're just showing someone else's future. Looks like they just took some stuff off of YouTube. But if you want to start from scratch, you really want to invigorate your team and bring them into that mold, you need to create something for them to work towards. And then Tom's like, it sounds to me like you're just working towards Elon's future. So go ahead and live in that dream.
Yeah, say hi to Elon for me.
If you really want your dream.
I have a thought. I have a few thoughts, Shaban, if you've got a couple minutes. So yeah, just to echo what Julian said, in anytime I do futures stuff, one, it's about the audience, right? Who are you speaking to? The CEO, it's like, I always define the CEO as having three responsibilities. It's hire good people, don't run out of money, and have a vision. That's it. It's all they really need to do. It's a lot of work. But what happens is that they get bogged down in the hiring good people. So they have a good board of directors, they have a good C-suite to support them. They're bogged down in making sure that they're not running out of money and being fiscally responsible. That what happens is that their example of having a vision is maybe reading Wired magazine or maybe even MIT Technology Review if they're up on things, but they're not really imagining too hard about it. So that's one thought I have in terms of the CEO perspective. When I worked in advertising, I worked with marketing directors. Marketing directors are typically stunted. Their future is stunted by like the next quarter. They're really just preoccupied by hitting those next quarters. So you have to look at a different audience. And to me, it was product designers. Product designers is different, or product innovation is another term for that. They're thinking a year or two into the future because they're thinking about the next thing. So what happens is that they come up with something that they tell the marketing people, like, oh, by the way, you're going to be marketing this. A lot of companies, the term innovation doesn't really mean what we think. Like when I think the word innovation, I think of like new, fantastic development in technology. Oftentimes the word innovation just means like a new flavor. Like a new flavor innovation. It's nothing fancy. It's just like, oh, we're going to do lime instead of lemon. And that's enough of an innovation for them. But when you're speaking to this innovation group, their job is to come up with new ways to sell a product or new product offerings. And this is where I think design fiction does a really wonderful job, is that when you focus on something very, very specific, you pick one sector, food and beverage, automotive, whatever, and you blow it out. Like I think the automotive magazine that Julian and I worked on is a perfect example of this. We blew out design fiction from all sorts of angles, all sorts of different implications and technologies and so on and so forth. And what happens is that when you lay that out, you could then, and a lot of it is like, this is where you get accuracy through volume. You have to create a lot of stuff in order to hit the right thing. And what happens is that in that mess of design fiction, there's going to be a handful of that design fiction that's going to feel really plausible and very tangible. And like, we could maybe do that. Like we have the tooling to actually make this come to life. But the great thing is that design fiction, you could put it out into the world and you can have people look at it and have an audience, consumers, clients, customers look at it and go and see what resonates. Like this is a social media campaign, like, oh, I love this idea. And all of a sudden you've done some informal user testing and then you can make an informed decision. And yeah, let's go make this thing. Like our live stream that we had on Wednesday, we had a discussion around what is it, the eye drops for virtual reality. So that was an easy one. In my brain, it was like the very, very easy to mock up, right? It's a mock up of a eyedrop bottle with some words on it on a coffee table with a VR headset. So I mocked it up. I published it a little earlier while we were in the call here. But that could be made. Like, imagine virtual reality eye drops. It sounds silly, but if Bausch and Lomb or whoever makes the eye drops out there decided to make specific virtual reality eye drops, and they were literally just the same eye drop formula, but a different, that's like, this is how the world works. People just like the new logo. They like the new thing. They like to think that this thing is special, when in fact, there's nothing special about it. Like, we live in this, or at least in the Western world, we live in a very consumer centric world where changing the color of a bottle might be enough to increase sales. And design fiction is a great tool to get to that. And that would be in the most base consumerist level. Never mind when you start talking about like the symptoms and the implications and socio-political things that you can influence with design fiction. So I hope that helps.
No, that does help actually. Since NFL and the Discord exists, it helps me also in conversation because I can point to other examples that I didn't know, even if it's not my own work. The fact that there is a community and then there is more kind of work to draw on is a big help. So yeah, I think it does make sense, and we have to produce a lot of work, and I think the community does help, and there's space there for more people to join in. So yeah.
A couple thoughts that I have in terms of what I love about your presence here is you can offer the Indian perspective. Like, I almost feel like there's the Indian archetypes. What are the archetypes that are probably better suited for your community that we're not thinking about, here in North America? And that could be something that you could kind of own or plant that stake in the ground. Like, your blog has your little section of design fiction where you're talking about it from your perspective, which I think is really good. And also even the
see you as being like the forward operating base commander for our division.
Oh, Fred Verdi from last week's call and me got together during the week, and we had a chat, and we were like, you know what, we seem to get similarly angry about the fact that design fiction seems to be very future looking, whereas we're always thinking about the fact that Silicon Valley's 5 years ago is going to be the future for India or something like that in 3 years. So it was kind of interesting that that this lens, there are more people. I just thought I was the only idiot who thought of it that way.
I would love to be able. Sorry to interrupt, Ray. I would love to be able, and it's sort of happening informally, but and I'm okay with that. Like, we don't need to like send out a white paper or something, but like organically, folks who are like you, like right now, you're showing like a certain level of like energy and enthusiasm and commitment, not by being asked to show a certain level of energy, enthusiasm, and commitment, but just because that's what you're feeling. And then there's Jan and Nicola and some other folks in Tokyo. They're actually getting coffee together. And so I feel like we're kind of organically creating these kind of like centers of people who are above the fold, like the 1% who are kind of like, I want this to happen. I'm not going to wait, and I've just got natural energy, enthusiasm, time, or whatever to spend some effort. And then there are folks in Auckland, and even to the point of like figuring out, it's like, okay, so how can I need something from you guys. What I need you to do is figure out, can you pre-sell enough of the next drop in your context so that I can just send you 3 boxes of the stuff, and then we work it out, like whatever, I make it worth your trouble. By that I mean, like, you're a showrunner on this, on just happens to be a logistics project, and then you become also by association, you become, or your collective becomes the go-to people, and people are like, oh, I heard those design fiction, it's happening over there, like, let's go talk to them. You do a meetup, before long it's like, things are really happening. That's sort of, I mean, it happened indirectly, like in Los Angeles, when I just started running the Speculative Futures Institute Los Angeles meetup. Not that I necessarily need, it was just kind of a fun thing to do, but it draws community together. People are like, that's great, once a month we get together. I mean, it was a pain in the ass. I had to like schlep sodas and pizza pies, but it's worth it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you. That's good. And also thanks, Ray. I'm sorry, I might have to run, but yeah, this is lovely. I honestly don't know why, what office hours is yet, and I just come in because someone had told me you have open calls with these folks who do a lot of design fiction. I'm like, interesting. If I want to explore a new field, maybe I should attend a call that's freely available for people. So thanks guys for doing it, and I'll try and jump in as much as I can.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye. Bye, Thomas. Bye, Chad.
Do what we do.
Hey,
Good stuff. I like the that there's that lesson learned. It's like everything you do content wise or activation wise is an opportunity to make content out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I worked in advertising, we would talk about the idea of like, we're going to create an installation that maybe 30 people are going to engage with in person, but 3 million people are going to watch the YouTube video. And that's how we operated, and we did really, really well that way.
Yeah.
mhm.
Thomas, that's why we need to record the general seminar thing. We did a general seminar recording, me, Thomas, and Florian. I think it's like 3 hours of tape. It's like impossible to edit. I mean, it's too much. We got to do it again.
Can you do a part 1, part 2?
I don't even want to go there. I mean, it was just a little bit too rambly and not structured enough to make.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like you make film. It's like well, when I do, I don't know, maybe other people do. It's like I want to get as close as to what I'm going to have to edit possible. Because I'm the editor, because I'm not like going out and saying like, I'll wait 3 years for this editor to get done with this pile of, 74 hours of film or something.
Yeah. What if your structure was like, top 3 points of episode 1 and then top 3 points of episode 2, and
that's what we did.
That's it.
That's
and that was 3 hours.
It just went too long.
What about half? What's the top half a point?
I think there just needs to be more directly. I did a bad job of like executive producing. It should have been like, okay, so for each thing that we talk about, give yourself, like 90 seconds.
I mean, we really got into it.
Yeah.
Because it was like ideas expanding on ideas. It was definitely more of like a brainstorm. Yeah. It turned into, like, as it went on, more of a brainstorm session.
Yeah, more of a generative session. Well, here's another thing you can do. Just paste the whole goddamn transcript into ChatGPT, tell it to explain it like I'm 5 in 3 paragraphs, and there's your show. Robot voice it. Get a little Julian robot voice.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, speaking of robots reading things, what was someone, I think it was maybe Drew, who did, he cobbled some bits together to do a thing where created like a I think I want to say it was like highlight points. I can't remember what it was. I was thinking about like when I upload the even these or any session of like basically I was wondering if the robot could create a description. Not that we need a lot. I don't know how much people don't descriptions in YouTube, do they? They just kind of click the.
No, well, the robots read descriptions on YouTube. That's the reason why you want to do descriptions on YouTube.
Right. So that the algorithm's like, oh, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
Don't the robots aren't listening anyway to the video?
They are listening, but I think that I think the YouTube algorithm will actually favor what's written in the description, and it'll look specifically, it'll higher weighted the first 50 characters. Yeah. Or higher weighted. There's all this like intricate little algorithmic mystery that goes on, but some people have cracked it or attempted to crack it by making sure you're using the operative words at the beginning, at the top of the description.
Yeah. So what would you do for the algorithm to do that? Would you get a transcript, shove it through? What would you?
Well, the way I would do it, and there's a few different ways to do it. I would get the Descript transcript, copy paste it, export a Word doc, depending on how long it is, because you're going to use so many tokens in and out. Just copy what you want the description of, paste the whole thing in, and just ask it to summarize it. And then what it'll do is it'll likely summarize it, and it'll be pretty lengthy. Like this happened, this happened, this happened. And then once it's done that, you can tell it to refine it and say, summarize it in just 1 paragraph or exactly 100 words. And that's how you can reduce it. You can tell it to explain it like I'm 5, and then that way it'll get rid of anything, any technical jargon. But yeah, it's literally just copy paste into it. If you're copying too much, you'll get an error saying there's too much being pasted in.
Yeah. Okay.
There's Planet Money podcast, which I really like.
I like those guys.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes are great because their whole thing is like, we're going to try to use AI to put ourselves out of a job. So they're using like ChatGPT and audio generators and all this stuff to come up with the idea, write the script, read the episodes. So they did parts 1 and parts 2, and part 3 is going to be the actual AI generated episode. And it's just really fun to look under the hood and how they're doing it. And they're being very thorough. It's a good examination of the possibilities.
Is that the last 2 episodes you're saying?
Yeah, the last 2 episodes. Yeah, and the 3rd episode is yet to come.
Cool. Have to check those out. That sounds good. Yeah.
All right, I have to bounce. I have a meeting in 2 minutes I got to prep for.
Okay.
Right.
Quickly, Dre, is gathering stuff for next week good on the cards, you think, as far as organizing? Or we can talk later if you gotta go.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna message you guys in our little channel and let you know what's up. And then but yeah, I'm gonna put some time into it. I'm probably gonna work on it this weekend as well.
Okay, cool. We'll talk soon.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Cool. So what do I'm just thinking that we talked about a bunch of things today, huh? I guess, Julie, if you're going to summarize like what we kind of went over, what did we do today? I'm just like, I was thinking and listening. It was kind of about would you say a lot of it was about becoming a little more proficient, or maybe that's not the best word. Well, how to function a little differently as an organization that's kind of forming. I don't know.
I get it's somewhere in and around that. I get what you're saying, and it's definitely loose. But I will say this: when Thomas and I were talking with Florian and Nicola yesterday about the Green Pages project, which I think it's a good exemplar maybe of how other projects could go. Is I referenced Pizza DAO.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment when things were like bonkers, and you were kind of doing a bit, from what I understood, you were doing a little bit of shepherding of the toppings community and stuff.
I mean, yeah. I spent a lot of time there.
You spent a lot of time there.
I spent a lot of time there for, I would say, I mean, it could have been close to a year. And recently it's because I spent so much time there at one time, I haven't left it entirely. So I kind of just and it's evolved. It's been going on for a little over 2 years now. And there's a cycle where that, not to get into this right now, because I want to hear what you're going to say, but just to finish the thought real quick. Around May is when there's sort of more going on, let's say, because their organization is based on throwing a pizza party once a year, more or less. And that happens in May. So it just happened recently. So there was sort of a resurgence of energy. And yeah, I mean, I can go on more about how that DAO has evolved from my perspective. But anyways, go back to what you were saying.
Well, so that was kind of the, just wondering, you had a large distributed group of artists creating pizza toppings, right, as digital art, and
go ahead.
And it was, and so I mean, that was just in my mind. It came up as an example of a crowd, community, people coming together to do work. Now the distinction that popped into my head was that it was quite I mean, to a certain degree, it was unstructured. So what's a pizza topping? And then some people like, sent pictures of dogs splitting their asshole open.
Right. Love that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. And some people, so everyone had their own aesthetic taste, but that was part of the vibe, right? We're not necessarily, sure how these things, but then there was, who was it? The one fellow who kind of created the algorithm to actually layer the things and generate the individual pizza pies with the toppings.
Yeah.
Um,
Andrew. Yeah.
yeah. And so, and so the question is like, are there important aesthetic differences? Like, we're not necessarily in the mode of like everyone contribute whatever they can produce, right? Because we want to represent I don't know, what do we say? There's like a certain creative um standard. I don't, maybe standard's the wrong word, but like type, of material that we want.
Mhm.
And I've got pretty strong feelings about what works and what doesn't. And if it doesn't work, it's going to ruin everything. If it's a shitty classified ad that doesn't feel like it came from the future, and doing that magic of making something as if it came from the future is really hard. So
Mhm.
I guess I'm only saying that because it's like, not just because you can contribute doesn't mean that either you should or that it's actually
Well,
work with what we're doing. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. I have a few thoughts on that. In the context of the pizza DAO. So yeah, rare pizzas was the project that started Pizza DAO, and the idea that there was a call for people to come participate as what they call topping artists, people to contribute to a generative art piece that would fund this project to give free pizza to the world, right? So um, to the aesthetic point of it, that became, I got mostly involved with the art creation and the development of the generative pizza in that respect. And um, the when it comes to like the aesthetics of like what does a future digital pizza look like, or a rare pizza look like, that became like, yeah, huge, sort of unknown and unruly and out of hand, to like, maybe the guy that sort of more or less founded this concept of throwing out the idea of creating a pizza DAO and generative pizza. He had in mind that these would look like kind of real pizzas, right? But then they ended up looking like, but then as there was sort of this called a hyper collaborative at a different level, as all this stuff came in, it became apparent that people, there was 314 participants trying to add to like what a digital pizza would look like, and it became crazy looking. It just became like weird dogs and this and that, and at some point, as a group or an organization, it's like there had to be a weird, like, how do we bake this pizza and make it happen? Even if it doesn't look like people thought it might. And I tuned in a lot with those ideas, and I think that the whole idea of like, I took on a persona, which is what I kind of tend to do in a lot of these situations, is, and even in the near future, I'll take on the persona, sort of being a sheep breeder at the moment. But I coined it as like the omakase chef, which was sort of like, how do we make sense of all this all this visual noise or stuff in a way. And at the end of the day, it's like the pizzas look crazy, and but it got done, and it was kind of bringing people in to kind of help bring it all together. I don't know where I was going with this now. But basically, I guess my point is that it, it was a crazy process to kind of like see all that evolve and happen and be a part of it. And at the end of the day, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but it did happen, and it's there, and it's doing it. And uh, I don't know. I just got thinking about that as you were talking, Julian, just about like the output of these things and what they evolve into. And it was like a crazy experience and interesting. And then that's just sort of where it's at, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess you knew all that in a way, but yeah, I mean, what else? What else were we talking about there? I mean, I have thoughts, I guess, on the projects here. With I guess just with my little part of Android's dream stuff. I mean, my thought on it now is when I came into this, trying to be like really kind of narrowly focused, like, okay, let's focus on I guess it started with the cards and the book and other product, and to get it out the funnel and out into the world. And have we been efficient with it? I mean, I guess to a
I
point.
think it's been really efficient.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay.
I mean, it's happened. I mean, like so if I the book was, I mean, it's done. It's on its way. The
Yeah.
cards, sort of lagging a little bit behind, but I think I let the idea that the production cycle was quicker and it was domestic, so we could have stuff quicker, kind of allow me to relax a little bit. And I know I'm behind, but I feel like that is I'm excited for that because it is happening super quick. I don't know when we first. It'd be interesting to go back and say, I don't know if I texted you or DM'd you to be like, hey, have you played with ChatGPT? And then, or not ChatGPT, Midjourney, and you're like, not really. Like what that gap is, because it's actually something that, I mean, it came up when I was, I've been thinking about the redoing the near future laboratory site, which is right now is just like one page.
Yeah.
Is to point to these projects and be like, this was fucking done in 6 weeks.
Like, I've looked at that recently. Yeah, I did look at that recently for just the sake of time frame. And
what was it?
February 1st, I think, is when, like, the way that I tracked it quickly was to I looked at our channel with Dre, because that's sort of, I think you started that one, and it was, if you go back to that, it starts at the end of January, and I feel like we focused on, okay, it's going to be trading cards based on these, and generative AI, Midjourney, sheep. We don't know exactly what, and then the book kind of sparked the idea of bringing it into that context of Android's dream. So that was about February 1st, and then you would kind of like, we kind of like did a couple different things about how do we get cards made, manufacturers, and you kind of quickly one day when we were around, found like a couple manufacturers that could do it, locally in the US. And then you wrote them a note that said, we're going to give you all the production stuff for this by mid-March. And so that set like a 6-week deadline right there. And then, and I know that just because I looked back at the email not too long ago, because I've been corresponding with that guy since. And so that was 6 weeks. That was a 6-week process that we kind of set in mind to be like, okay, let's try and get cards done. And then I would say by week 5, you were kind of busy with finishing the books, and you're like, hey, I think get this Android book done, probably in week 4. And you kind of already scribed out a lot of it. And my kind of personal goal with the process was like, okay, we're doing trading cards with sheep, and I'm gonna make the sheep. I'm gonna learn the tools. We're gonna make this fun stuff, and then the mechanics of like, okay, what would be a fun, interesting trading mechanism. So most of that stuff was done like around that 6-week period. Like my personal goal is like, okay, if I get this done by mid-March, and then the book came. I think it was around that timing that you needed to get the books done for the thing. So that happened. So I feel like the book kind of really came together within 5 weeks. And I feel like a lot of the card stuff was sort of laid out within week 6. And then now we're, I don't know, March, April, May, June, May, 2.5 months later. And in a lot of ways, I feel like the cards They could have been done by now, but we're close.
Yeah,
You,
they
you
could
know,
they could have been done by now.
they could have been done, and that's okay. I mean, I kind of had my own like, internal hustle is my focus. Be like, okay, the card's going to get down
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
right
That's
away.
good. I mean,
Yeah,
you got hustle. So you got hustle, so that's good. I think some not it's not and also, I mean, you're clearly enthusiastic and motivated. I'm not
yeah.
sure.
I got my own motivations that try and fit into the structure, right? That whatever the structure is that's being done, and so it's like my sort of, I guess, maybe questions or points of discussion are a little bit more like, do we have a bottleneck opposed to like, how do we get a project done,
Yeah.
in some ways. And
I don't think we do. I think so
yeah,
from my perspective with the cards, and so I'm vaguely in my head it's like I'm trying to imagine these things lining up from a retailing perspective. So I know that
yeah,
the books, I think the Android book will arrive in the Port of Los Angeles around the end of June, and it would have I think it's supposed to have cleared customs and be at my freight forwarder by the end of June. It's the end of this
right.
month. And then I want to get them, um and then I'll probably, I don't know, probably maybe like 2 weeks. It could be to get them across the country, and then some of them
Yeah,
I also have to get to
I
Berlin.
don't, yeah, I can't see them being hung up too much as a book in customs.
I'm not even worried about that stuff. It's going to get through, but I'm trying to, I don't, in my mind, it's like the cards in the book got to be available at the same time.
Right. Oops,
From a
sorry.
merchandising perspective, I want someone to be able to go to the site and be like, oh shit, look at all this stuff. I'll have it all, as opposed
Yeah,
to dribs and drabs of things.
yeah. That's what
So
I've kind of gathered is that,
the cards in the book, I think both need to be available. It's gonna be a little bit tricky because I don't know if we're gonna be able to ship the cards. I don't know if
but
I'm not sure if the cards will go to the Berlin logistics outfit. So things get a little bit more complicated
oh, well,
because
yeah,
because
maybe.
shipping, because
Well,
I'm trying to cut the shipping costs to people. Um, and this outfit in Berlin does really good rates, but I think they only do printed matter. I don't know if they would do cards.
yeah,
It's a question.
yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, I guess to find that out, but ultimately that's to make it easier for people overseas to get. This is a small package too. I mean, I guess for shipping reasons, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's that's another thing to like investigate with them is will they ship small stuff? I mean, it's up to them. I think they mostly do books, but Patrick
Right.
says they'll do small things as well. It just adds another, it's more work. It adds another wrinkle.
Yeah. And the reason for that is it's purely about a shipping cost,
The
or
reason
is
for
it
what?
more about timing of logistics to get it to a customer,
The reason for what?
or for having, say, a trading card in Berlin?
Well, suppose someone in Berlin orders, I want this book and I want the trading cards, and now the trading cards got to come from South Carolina and the book comes from Berlin. It's just a confusing scenario for the end user, because we're going to get emails. People are like, I got the book, but I didn't get the cards. Like, well, the cards are coming from another place. It's just confusing. Which isn't to say
Um,
that's not possible. And we're gonna, and then there are two shipping costs that we have to pay, not just one. One's going to be, I mean, it's close to $20 plus to ship something from South Carolina. So now, how much are we selling the trading cards for? Are they not? Is it not even worth selling them because it costs more? Because we're subsidizing the shipping to such a degree, or
yeah,
is someone going to buy something that's a $20 deck of cards that they they're not sure what it is, even what it is, and the shipping is $20?
yeah. My thought to that would be, um,
Or or the cards only available in the US, which is
yeah,
something that like Meta Label did. They're like, you can only get this shit in the US.
right. My thought to that is that if you have in your mind that they need to be together as a package deal, that yes, they probably should be shipping from one location.
Mhm.
Uh, if they're sold separately, then that's different.
Yeah.
So, and again, the way that you could solve that is, yeah, see if the shipping card can also be in Berlin, or say the Android book is only available through shipping in the United States with the cards. So it's kind of choosing one or the other, because it does get more complex and complicated.
Yeah.
To offer it, and maybe it's just they're offered as separate things, and then it's less of an issue. I don't know. I mean, those are things. But yeah, that's how I would
Yeah.
kind of
That's
think about it logically.
Once you finish creative stuff, like there's no like, okay, catch you guys later. It's like, no, man.
Yeah, no,
we just started.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
you gotta have a
yeah,
hangover with a night out.
right. Well, we'll put it this way: the idea in this context, as an example, the idea of having cards and books were an idea before it was to have another office in Berlin have the Android books, right? Yeah. So it changed after the fact of.
And so I sort of vaguely thought that it would just be the cards in the book, and that we would just do enough cards that we thought that we could get rid of them all at the art book fair.
Right.
As opposed to making them a globally available thing, which is also, I mean, not to say just the art book fair, but it could just be a thing like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not opposed to making things like, look, sorry, you can't get it in the rest of the world.
I mean, look, if Berlin can, if you're settled in Berlin for a lot of other product, and they can't do cards, then they can't, and you're not going to switch everything else out of Berlin probably because of that. So then it probably comes down to that it probably makes sense just to offer them for not international shipping, I guess.
That's it.
I would say, and then it possibly, if you want to have a combination pack, that's just not international. And if you just want a book, I guess if the books are going to Berlin, then they can just go to Berlin. They can just be from Berlin. So maybe it's just a special offer for the US. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing.
Yeah.
Just to keep it less complicated. But I guess I would figure out if it makes sense to get the cards to Berlin or not first. Yeah. Having multiple fulfillment houses is a hard thing.
It's definitely a hard thing.
Yeah, when you haven't had any.
Yeah.
Right, has anything shipped from a fulfillment house yet or not?
Yeah, we did the manual. The first printing of the manual was with the Berlin outfit.
Okay, that wasn't directly from the manufacturer or something.
No, it was not.
Yeah, okay, so that's.
Manufacturer just prints, and then they said, here's a place you can use, and Patrick had used them in the past, and
yeah,
so yeah, and they were I don't know, man, they're just fucking cheap, and they use, you know, like courier tier service. A lot of the headache has been with the work kit. There's been like a ton of headaches, but it's just like, I mean, just the level of service that is offered is not as, it's more expensive for shipping, and I just don't think that this outfit that I'm using has the scale to get really good rates. Matter of fact, there's another outfit that I'm talking to.
Oh, the one you're talking about, the one in Carolina?
Yeah, I like them and stuff, but it's also like
they're expensive. They're expensive.
The shipping costs are expensive.
Right. Yeah.
As it is for, you know, around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably. I mean, you had already done it, but like when you said you're looking for fulfillment in the US, I had that one that I worked with, but it wasn't a recommendation to that one because I kind of felt like it was just expensive to like be operating.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a different product I go to, but
expensive.
Yeah. Books. I mean, look, if you found a good one, Berlin's good. I mean, I don't know, but I guess there's just other things there too. Yeah. Anyways, it's coming along. It's good. See, it's good to have all these issues with like small things in some ways than like, I don't know, like, you know, computers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Depends on that. Not that much. So yeah, anyway, so June sounds like June's like the time, end of June, early July. It's coming along.
Yeah, so that's when stuff will arrive, and then it needs to go elsewhere. So it'll come here, and then it needs to go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you not going to ship books from the US place at this point, or you're not sure?
No, I'm gonna try because about like 40% of the audience is in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, so that might as well just do it, I guess. It won't be maybe as efficient as from the first time.
I mean, I think they're I don't know. Well, we'll see. It's all an experiment. So try shipping from the US and see what the numbers work out to be for domestic orders, US orders. It's pretty it's pretty good, I guess. It'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's just good to go through it once, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Get that stuff there, run through it, and then you have a real clear picture of like how expensive or efficient it was to work with the group.
Exactly.
And it sounds like it'll be with a few books and maybe some cards.
Yeah, there'll be a few books. The cards will hopefully, well, I mean, not hopefully, the cards will run out, and then that'll be it for the cards. Um, I mean, the cards will get a bump with when there's more stuff, more people point you to it, and people be like, oh, you know what, I'll take the cards. And the other thing is I offer, I don't know if the numbers work out well for this, um, free shipping in the U.S. because it's not that expensive. Maybe $8 or $9 to send domestically. I was like, all right, eat that. And then people are like, oh, cool. I'll have, oh, wait, that book? Holy shit, there's this other book? Cool. And this one? Okay, I'll take that. And you know what? Throw the card deck in there. And now I'm set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, and even, even just like, coming up with a funny kind of bundle thing, like all the shit in one price.
Yeah.
Only, minimum click path. Just click this and you get everything.
Yeah. Does
Should have that button just be called "Shut up and take my money"?
Yeah, shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Yes. Stop your blathering. Just take here it is.
Yeah. There's an option to get a stack of the cards too. I mean, meaning like maybe a very limited, like you don't just get 7 in a pack, but you get the whole 64. Did I tell you that? I don't know if I told you that.
I don't know if you told me that. A bundling deal?
Yeah, basically, well, it came up as sort of sort of a, there was a couple of reasons the guy suggested it. One was like, hey, it's always good to have some extra cards around in case you have unhappy customers or something, that like one gets damaged or this or that. And I'm like, is that something you offer? And he's like, yeah. He's like, basically, it comes in a little box, and it's a full set. And then there's I guess you could say it's more like it's like a deck. It's basically a deck of cards, and you can order the decks. Maybe there's a very few limited decks as a special thing. And then you also have some extras in case for whatever reason, so you don't have to be ripping open packs to see everything.
Right.
Yeah. I gotta send you that. I gotta put it on the page. I'll put it on the page. I got on the other. What else? Lab. What else is happening?
Is this enough?
Huh?
That's enough, yeah.
Yeah. It's always.
Hey, both you guys, you should you should go to the to Yogi's museum.
Oh yeah, I caught wind of that.
I think
Can
you
you
would
go in?
you've got Camille. I haven't been to your house. But
Yogi's Museum? What museum is
like
this?
mid-century modern. I mean, his place. I'd never been over there. His and Carol's place. A friend.
You talking about his house or like the
He's at his
basement?
house.
What's
It's in
his
his
chair
house.
collection?
Well, it's more than that. It's the what's
I
the
remember at one point it was pretty chair heavy. That was when I first heard about it.
yeah. It's God, what is it? I went there. He had a thing.
Yeah, I haven't been to his house in a while. Is the basement fully set up with all the stuff?
I didn't go in the basement. It was like a tour, and
Touring his house?
yeah, but he was touring it through the Paul McCobb, his collection of Paul McCobb.
So it's all set up in the house, you mean?
Yeah, it's a living museum.
Yeah. Does he have more stuff in there than usual? Or I mean, I've just at some parties there a while ago.
It's set up like a house.
Yeah.
So it's not like stacked and piled with stuff, but I think he rotates through stuff. I'm not sure how often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Paul McCobb Living Museum.
yeah, I know. I mean, I've heard him talk about how the basement is just stacked with stuff, unless he had it somewhere else now. Or the garage, I
Yeah.
guess.
There was a group, so I don't think he was going to take people to all corners of the
Yeah,
his compound.
yeah.
It was
It looks like you can reach out and book an appointment.
yeah, totally. He's one of us. I mean,
Yeah, I met him at Monday morning meeting.
oh
When I
yeah.
first met you. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Mhm.
Cool.
It's worth it. I was trying to, yeah, we should maybe arrange something or just go over there. It's cool.
Camille, do you run like CNC machines or have that knowledge? Is that something you said you did?
Yeah, I know CAM software.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some materials you're trying to subtract from.
No, it was more like I've had a running conversation with a friend that makes furniture, and he's always talked about wanting to get a new tool in his repertoire of stuff, and one of them is CNC. And he kind of goes to
How hard does he need a CNC?
how hard?
Yeah, like is he like at my last job we used this machine called a shaper. That was pretty good. Not, the full price of a CNC, obviously, but this still had like a lot of the carving capability and stuff you'd want. Let me find the link. But this is like sort of similar. The nice thing about a CNC, obviously, is that it's big, but depending on what you're making, it can inform the size. Here, let me put these in the office hour Discord chat as well, but I put them in the chat here.
Yeah.
But shapers are sort of like, they call it handheld CNCs. So it's sort of like a router, but it's actually machine controlled. So it keeps you on straight lines in case your body's not quite making straight lines. So that may be a good kind of interim tool if like they don't have the space or bandwidth or like necessary reason to commit to like a full CNC.
I think he's a full CNC guy.
Okay, he's ready.
He's ready. Well, he does production of a lot of furniture.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he has to have a CNC. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I mean, I've only I've never
What's he trying to mill?
stuff for furniture.
Okay, so let's assume mostly wood. Let's assume mostly wood and composite material, right? Like he's not cutting soft metals. He's not having to hop on a Bridgeport. Like
I would say
mostly
wood. Mostly wood. Yeah, mostly wood. Yeah.
Okay.
I think all the metal work he does, he outsources for other things, a lot of like welding and bending.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the nice thing about furniture is because it's in pieces, right? You're assembling pieces, so
yeah,
if you're already doing that, it's easy just to get one part outsourced or one part process the outsourced. But okay, is he looking for like a specific type of CNC?
Well,
Like,
I guess my
like
we've had
what's your question? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, we've had the discussion. He looks to me as like someone that could help him, and I don't really know that much about it. And I thought I remembered you saying when we met that you had worked a lot with CNC stuff maybe in the past, and maybe I was trying to jog my memory if that was true or not. And so I mean, if you have and are interested, or if I had more questions in the future about it, maybe I could talk to you about it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have like recommendations off the top of my head, but I can definitely talk about it and sort of talk software and pros and cons, and again, it all depends on kind of what you're trying to do with your tool, right? And like furniture, since that's mostly coming from like a flat pack space, it's like, you're not having like huge amounts of travel on the Z, right? Like maybe you'll get 3-4 inches, of like sort of travel in terms of like making the curve for back of a chair or something, compared to like I'm carving like, a very ornate sculptural thing that I'm going to have to like put on a rotary arm, so it can like rotate while it's getting CNC, right? Like
I'd say
different processes, different energy behind it.
Yeah, it's probably less of that and more of the flat, like modular stuff, I would assume.
Yeah. Cool.
For sure.
Wow. I've been going through this book. I'm trying to figure out what I need to photograph for everyone here to put in our chat for NASA Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having to go through everything I've made. I'm applying for a job right now where the title is maker. It's just sort of weird because, how do you go through your work? So I'm doing it kind of by material. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. Like if your role is a maker, how do you define that? And, like what are you sort of classifying as your making skills, So, but I've been working on a weird lamp project lately for the house. So this is really, I had a lamp that was broken via an open box sale. And so I've been kind of making these like little drippy bits.
Oh yeah.
So
is that printed?
Yeah, this is printed. It's okay. I'm gonna change the shape a little bit because it's not quite what I want, but you can see like the thickness, but I'm gonna print it with PVB, which you can like smooth in alcohol baths. So it's gonna be like a clear on the outside, and then I'm gonna paint the interior white because I'm kind of mimicking these glass balls. I have a photo, but I don't know if I will be able to find it quickly on this device. And then I've just been doing a bunch of AI stuff lately. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of doing a million things and I need to pick one and finish it.
Right.
As it goes. But yeah, this is the like interpolation stuff I've been working on. I'll post it in the office hours. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Did you go through periods where you're just like, you feel like you're kind of going so wide and you're sort of like, when do I funnel? Or what determines the funneling for you, right? Is that like a deadline? Is that like economic incentive?
Wait, I missed I just didn't hear the first thing you said.
Do you go through like periods of time where do you feel like you're doing everything and you're just going like really wide in terms of like all the sort of different things you're producing, et cetera?
I'm taking on many things at once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Julian's a master at that one.
Yeah, no, I know.
my experience of myself would be, I go through phases of trying to take on, you know, a few things, and they, I guess when I feel like when I have the thought of being like I successfully just accomplished something, it's usually a couple things at once that come together at a similar time. Then it is just like maybe one thing. If that makes sense. That's just how
So it's like many parts of one big piece, is what you're saying.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's yeah, I'm not sure. I would say that, yeah. I mean, from what you're saying, I tend to get to resolution by thinking of a couple things rather than just one.
Fair.
If that makes sense.
I
But I'm
guess,
also kind of I'm also like a big fan of like not making decisions, but making rules to make decisions.
yeah, like you sort of have a series of systems, right?
Yeah, I'm more of a systems thinker for the exact output, rather than
I migrated to that more on like an hour by hour basis.
yeah.
Just like, you know, I spend this hour doing X versus like I need to finish or I need to get to this part of project. But yeah.
My general thing is, I'm not that I think about it over think about it to insanity, but it's like I do that thing. It's like, what do I want to look back at? Do I want to look back at not having
Oh,
finished it, or do I want to look back at having finished it?
fair. That's good.
There's a scene, I can't remember the movie, where someone kind of plays through that. It's like, do you want to do you see yourself in your you know, in your retirement, sitting at the end of a bar, like, yeah, I had that idea. I could have done that. Yeah, it was a tough racket that was. I could, you know, or even worse, being like, yeah, it was stupid. Didn't want to do it. I would.
Remember the shipping crisis of 2023.
Now you want to be like, got this shit done, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you
absolutely.
want people to marvel at it. It's like, holy shit, how did you do this? Like, I did it. Is what it's not that hard. I
Bring a Marvel.
just got her done. It's not rocket science. It literally is not.
Yeah, you'll like I think I'm way more like Jed in terms of systems thinking. Um yeah, like if I want to do something consistently, that's like more like a form of play. I have to like do it socially, right?
Hmm.
Like via the Martian community, because we do a lot of AI tool stuff. Like we have like, you know, like a sort of AI work session where we just jam on AI tools, but we're all, you know, in the same digital space jamming, right?
Right.
Like that way, you know, that's like why I come to office hours and stuff. She said she was like 2 hours late today. But yeah.
You were jamming.
What?
You were jamming.
I had caffeinated coffee ice cream yesterday before 2 p.m. and I thought I would sleep and I didn't. So
No.
yeah. Um Exciting. But I did post, I don't know, Jed, if you're aware of this. I mentioned it to Julian earlier this week, but I think I posted in the daily
Yeah.
archetypes. We
Okay.
have an archetypes channel somewhere.
Daily archetypes.
I don't know if it's daily archetypes. I think design fiction archetypes maybe.
Is that in a
Trying to figure out what channel it's in.
sometimes I don't post in too many, but I do forget which ones I do it in.
I remember where things live, but I never remember how to find it again.
It's a mess.
Long term.
The ones I've been looking, the ones I go back to are the artificial intelligence one, as of lately. The general, is there a general? Oh, the visual inspiration. You know, the androids one.
Everyday archetype, that's what it is.
Okay, where's this one? Everyday, yep, I see this. I haven't clicked on that one recently.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been getting really into rave totems because I went to a rave like a big music festival last week.
Was this last week?
Yeah. And like I realized this is like an object that sort of it exists because there's too much networking in one space, right? So phones don't work in these spaces, basically. So you need some visual point of reference.
Yeah.
And then everyone makes them. They're super custom. Like the only ones I saw that didn't feel as custom were just like someone still had to like attach a sign to like a pole, right?
Yeah.
And what's this for?
So basically there's so many people at these events that phones stop working.
Okay.
Like you cannot get signal. There's like the signal is just jammed. So when you're like trying to find your group of friends, because you know, God forbid we as humans are able to do things alone.
Is this a peewee with a, does he have a banana wiener? What is that?
Yeah, it's so I talked to this dude and he won that at this trading event called Frick Frack Blackjack. That this is kind of cringe because I'm showing you video from another device, but here we are. But basically you just have the crowd with all of these poles to identify where you are in the crowd. So your friend can, you know, see it from a distance and go find your group basically.
Oh yeah.
But like there's just so many, you know, and it was like one of those things where it's like, wow, this is an object that like doesn't have a lot of sort of design parameters, right? It has to be visible at night. And it has to be attached to a pole, you know, or some type of tall device. But it seems like there are a lot of like interesting sort of potential for that, because it's like, you know, when everyone's going to the show and like everyone's going to put effort into sort of making their own sort of custom identifiable object, you know, but they're all like super unique, right? Like even the ones that aren't unique, like are unique because it's like, oh, well, we bought this light up pole online, you know, we just attached a stuffed animal to the top, right?
Right.
So I think there's something there. I don't know what it is yet. We're talking about.
Did you make one too?
No, I did not. I'm not insecure being alone in large groups.
Yeah.
So the social experience is not for me. Plus, like a lot of the people I came with were like, so I got a free ticket because most of my friends are like volunteering and stuff. So it's like part of the reason I went. I'm not really a festival person, but this was kind of this interesting element from it. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what this is going to be, but there's kind of this like, well, what about if, you know, the rave totems are antennas, right? And this was a means to make like a local mesh network, right? Or like, you know, what about if these were somehow like invisible, but sort of only visible through some sort of AR mediated experience? But like at one point, one of the shows I went to, one of the singers like got a rave totem from the crowd and stood on stage singing with it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's about or for, but Hollow Mag, who does a lot of like art and sort of creative technology stuff, like hollow.mg and Signals and Inspiration. They're working with this studio called Normals, which does like a lot of AR VR stuff, and they're creating a sort of like future festivals guide. The loads. So it's just interesting to see sort of what festival culture looks like now versus then, and like because kind of we have this need to be social, and or at least like this need to connect IRL, you have these devices. So I don't know. I was thinking like, is this a grant opportunity? Is this like a book where I like document all of them? I'm not sure sort of what the output of this is, but
It's a
I
zine.
think it could be interesting.
It's a little mini newspaper zine.
I like zine. Yeah, I think zine is a good qualifier.
Like
Mhm.
yeah, I don't even know. Just like a catalog of an archetype. That's it. I don't know
Yeah,
how far you have to go. It's like I was gonna say like look at the stuff that Expedition Works is doing, but I think his is much more there's stories, which is not good or bad, but it's also like if you want to get something done, it's gonna be
yeah.
then all of a sudden
How fast or slow? Yeah, because
I would
hearing
just
some
say
of the
like
stories,
just
some of the
document.
stories are interesting. You know, like
Yeah, but
the dude with the
where
like.
that path is going. Of course, they're interesting, but the path is going to like, okay, I'm not going to get this done. Like, just
Yeah,
grind
fair.
out, grind out a zine. Like this is what I want to do for the. I mean, I think Isabella. Um, I don't know if she'll come back into it, but it's like I want it. That's the next book I want to do. I want to do the book of archetypes, and she's already started it, and we talked about it, but I think she's
Yeah.
busy with
Well,
other
and some of those books exist already, right? So it's like this is just like a kind of
one that
an
I did.
archetype that is really untapped, I feel like, compared to, like documents of cassettes, right? Or VHS.
Yeah, I would say don't fetish its uniqueness. Just make the thing.
Just make it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you did it if the first prototype you did, if you got 100 of the mini size newspaper club format,
Mm-hmm.
you get that done this weekend. I mean, assuming you've already got the art,
Yeah, assuming I have enough photos.
and just write it up, or even if you have 16 photos, just do a 4-page, 8-page zine thing. You have that shit in a week and a half. You're done, and it'd be like, okay, that was a prototype. But worst case, I'm not going to be sitting at the end of the bar when I'm 74 knocking back
Yeah,
shots of
I love
paper.
this fear of aging. I love this fear of examining your failure
Well, I
as a
think
driver.
we don't do
That's
that
like a nice little hack.
for any futurist who doesn't regularly say like, what do I want my world to look like, and what do I want to look back on? Then they're not a futurist. If they're not,
No,
they can't
but
travel into that.
scale of world, right? Is the scale of the world like my house where I'm working on like funny little lighting projects, like, or is the scale of work, the world, I guess, right? Cool. Okay. Thank you for that, driver.
Sorry, I just ducked out to the bathroom and I missed the.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm very late today. I hold zero expectations for office hours. Um, I've just kind of been noodling on this, like, like, I don't know, I guess because documentation is so ubiquitous now, like all of these like rave culture and stuff that used to be like, way more sort of underground or like forbidden is just like so like normalized, like where's the mystique? So it's fun / weird to see these types of objects that are just like are kind of part of the vernacular, like how festival people dress. Like I saw so many butts. I've never seen like more butts exposed in my life. It got boring.
Hmm.
So chewing. Um, yeah, I think because right now I have an abundance of time, a little bit, just in terms of I don't have a lot of, like, I'm doing this research project, but that's not like, it's like right now it's still early, so like a lot of just reading and gathering resources and stuff. It's figuring out how to split the time and continue to work responsibly. I don't know. I'm looking at kind of larger scale systems problem. I've been reading this design book, classic 2010, Living with Complexity.
Wait, can you hold that up again? Oh,
Yeah.
I heard him on What's Her Face's podcast, and I was like, he sounds like a grumpy old man.
You heard what on What's Her Face's podcast?
He was on what's her name?
Debbie Millman?
Yeah, Debbie Millman's podcast. And it did make me excited to get the book. It sounded like, man, you're still on this playing the same old song.
I mean, this isn't a new book. This is the 10-year-old book, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying Donald Norman. I'm kind of like,
yeah, well, because he comes from, this lineage of sort of physical objects, right? Like, what does it look like sort of to marry the digital into that? It's not something that I think it's his wheelhouse, nor does it need to be, right? And like, why do people write is a big question. And, when you've written a few books, probably feels easier to write another one than to try something else with your life.
yeah. The other way the movie goes is like reflect back and be like, that was then, a month, or something where you kind of like, this is what was wrong with that. This is what didn't work. Or I don't know. I don't know. I'm projecting a lot on it, but it's like it just felt like I came away with a feeling of like, it sounds old fashioned.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that's
at its moment. Either create another moment, or I don't know.
Make a museum, be old fashioned, but acknowledge that,
I don't know what it was. It was something where I was just kind of like, all right, stop.
Yeah. So another thing, someone recently asked me, as like, Mars is trying to figure out how it's positioning itself. It's sort of been a space where people are attracted to it because it's organizing against the modern world, but that's not like a mission statement, which is unifying, right? And as part of that, we're sort of looking at what's the learning path for AI generation, right? And I'm just curious for you guys, like, you both started with Midjourney maybe, or like text-based MLLs or anything, or like, I mean, it's really just play, right? It's kind of play and moving forward, but like, what's stopping you maybe from moving sort of past Midjourney, or like, do you just not see a need for it?
Is that a question? I've only messed with Midjourney really. And I still feel like I don't know. I like the tool for what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying you need to go further, but I'm saying what would sort of incentivize you maybe to go further?
I think I'm going pretty far. I don't think about the tool. I think about what it allows me to do. I maybe, I started playing around with the generative AI thing in Photoshop.
Yeah, you showed me that yesterday.
Oh, I haven't started playing with that at all.
I'm not
Yeah, like you showed me that yesterday, Julian. I was thinking about it, and I'm still thinking about it, I guess. But yeah, it seems like it's a nice feature, I guess you could say, or ability to.
I don't know. I just started playing with it. It's sort of, it's interesting for sure. I mean, I'll post something today where I used it, but I'm not calling it out. It's just kind of like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it was literally, it's just a very practical, production oriented challenge, in the studio, which is, I've noticed that Midjourney does a really good job for my needs, right? Probably not the best, in a square format, but I also like to post in 9 by 16 because it's just fun. Like do it as a story. But if I try to get it to do 9 by 16, everything things get chopped off.
Oh, so this is like an upscaling tool.
So what I'll do is the thing that I figured out how to do without trying much at all, just kind of, I mean, I don't know Photoshop particularly well, is I got it to sort of like just fill the background in 9 by 16. So like, I'll share my screen. What I'm working on while we're talking, which I think is totally kind of awesome, is
I want to hear all this, but I got like 5 minutes before I forgot. Let's go. So
yeah. So
Yeah.
Midjourney did this guy
Mhm.
with a different background. So the background went to the hills, and then there was sky here. I won't switch to the original at the moment. And then with the Photoshop generative AI thing, I I changed the size of the canvas to 9 by 16, and then I masked out this, which was trivial, right, with Photoshop nowadays.
Yeah. Well, because the object selection they have is based on AI learning, so.
So I object selected, I think, just the car, and then I just started trying to get it to do, I just started fucking around with backgrounds, and I was like, oh, this one kind of works for, I like that. That's cool. I was trying to get it to show, a kind of a large structure behind it, and so then I composed this as a story, and then this as just the Instagram picture. So it's
Nice.
all an experiment.
Totally. I mean, that's what we're here on Earth doing, right? We're all experimenting.
Yeah, some people don't realize that.
Well, they
Take it very,
live
they take it all,
siloed lives,
they take it all very seriously. Yeah, I forgot where I don't know what I did with that video. I'll send it to you.
yeah, you sent it to me in that. You could probably just grab it out of that Midjourney channel.
Oh, can you
Oh wait, did you send it to me separate? Let me see.
where did I send it?
Hold on, you might have just. No, it was gonna.
Remember, I sent it to my brother, and he wrote back.
Here, you did a download in the Midjourney squad.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna find it from the name.
It's just off of you
Yeah.
and what Dre last wrote.
I'll put it in? Where should I put it in? Like artificial intelligence. Visually alluring, visually inspiring, electric art, work kit creations. All right, I'm gonna bounce.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, thanks for letting me sneak in towards the end, and thank you for your, vibe wisdom helping with research. I'm gonna scan a bunch of the Mars rover sort of manual, so we'll have some fun sheets.
Whatever you, yeah, just talk to us about what you're working on, because people will pile on and help. At a minimum, I will.
Thank you, Julian. I will when I am. Well, right now I'm